So the purpose of my paper was to reconstruct really the history of this milk fiber that was actually born in Italy in the 1930s. To really research everything, because there were many mentions, but not a specific history, and then find out about its relevance or not in today's fashion. So I started with the history. It was born in Italy. It was an invention of an Italian chemist called Antonio Ferretti in 1935, which coincidentally happened in the same period in which Italy, for its colonial policy in Africa, was imposed a number of economic sanctions. The Italian government reacted by imposing what they called the autarky policy, so a policy of self-sufficiency that tended to exclude any kind of trade with the external market. So here you find some advertisements that circulated back then. This invention by Antonio Ferretti was the patent for the invention was actually bought by an Italian company, which was originally a shipping company, but then it became specialized in artificial fibers. This is the headquarters in Milan that still exists, and this is one of the advertisements for Lanital, which was the name that was given to this casein-based fiber. Lanital from lana italiana, that was the idea. The Snia viscosa was actually producing other materials like rayon, that in Italy at the time was written with an I, not a Y, and also another material called Snia fiocco, both using the cellulose, so there were cellulose-based materials. Cellulose was obtained by a cane plant, which was almost ubiquitous, but then started to be cultivated specifically for this purpose in Italy. But among the products of Snia viscosa, definitely the most interesting and innovative was Lanital. This is a promotional postcard of a fair that actually illustrated the process. That is an example of a zero waste process, because the way in which it was conceived, basically the milk was deprived of the cream, and the cream was used to make butter, as you can see here, 4 kilos of butter. Then the rest went through several chemical baths, and if the that from which you obtain the casein, and then if there was some residual serum, there were the pigs here. They were happy to be fed with the serum. So nothing was wasted, and it was a completely circular process. The company started the production even, let's say, making this material, which was as good as wool with some flaws. One of the flaws was that it could not maintain its shape too much. After a number of wears, it would kind of become loose. And a secondary problem, not so secondary as a matter of fact, was that it smelled really badly once damp. He smelled like bed sheets. Nonetheless, they tried to market it, and to some extent they were successful. I found in an archival company, which is a wool company that still exists in Italy, actually the Lanital color cards. So you can see where it was in the middle of a lot of other things. And these are a couple of color cards. So this Lanital was available in a wide range of colors, because it was intended to really become an effective substitute of wool. Also because it had this advantage, it was completely moth-proof. Moths didn't like Lanital, so that was another plus. And especially, it was, the fabric of independence, that one of the many names and the catchy advertisements that emphasized how wearing Lanital was a kind of political support for the government and Italy. It was promoted to fairs. Here there was in Milan at the Fiera Campionaria, there was an actual pavilion where not only they showed different kind of Lanital, but they showed the entire process. So it was possible to see how the Lanital was made. And because it was so innovative, the Snia Viscosa actually commissioned to an important poet, journalist of the time, Filippo Tommaso Marinetti, the founder of the futuristic movement, a sort of promotional poem. He was in love with anything new, and so he fell in love with Lanital. As a matter of fact, he wrote this poem of the milk dress, celebrating the novelties of this material. Here you see how it was constantly advertised in almost all the magazines. Not all of them actually embraced this, let's say, government-led campaign. It's interesting that in my researches, I found out that actually specialized magazines like knitting magazines never mention Lanital for knit work. So you find in advertisements like these. Eventually, was also when the sanctions were lifted, promoted overseas. This is an image from Vogue, because a very famous princess at the time, considered a very stylish woman, was actually sent to New York to promote, among other things, also Lanital and the other products of the Snia Viscosa. Let's say that during the war, for example, World War II, most of the uniforms of the Italian army were made of Lanital, with all the problems that followed in terms of quality, and also on all of the blankets. In the 1950s, Lanital was reformulated and also was rechristened, so it was called Merino-like, highlighting its similarity with the merino wool, and problems like the smell, first of all, was eliminated, and also is not so sturdy fiber. But after the 1960s, Lanital or Merino, any way we want to call it, disappears from the market because it was substituted by cheaper acrylic fibers. We only find a sort of renaissance of Lanital or milk fiber at the beginning of the new millennium because of the let's say the worries about the polluting effects of petroleum-based materials. So in looking around for alternatives, Lanital finds his own niche. So we have, first of all, this company born in Germany. The founder is Anke Domaske, who was actually a fashion designer with science background, and she was looking for a fabric that was gentle enough to make clothes and other garments for her cancer-stricken father. So she was looking for a material that was as neutral as possible. And she came up with this fiber that she christened Q milk, eventually finding this company that specialized in the production of casein biopolymers. The fabric is, according to the mask, antibacterial, feels like silk and doesn't smell, so you can wash it like anything else. And it's sustainable because it's based on the utilization of milk that does not comply with the very rigorous German food standard. But not only that, also the manufacturing process is sustainable in the sense that the amount of CO2 emissions is minimal, and 1 kilogram of material requires as little as 2 liters of water. However, where I found many more examples is Italy, where in 2013 was born Due di Latte, another company that was founded specifically with the idea of bringing back milk fiber because of its benefits. It was born in Pontedera, which is a region in Tuscany, because the two founders found here both, let's say, the waste milk that they needed, and also the companies that were able to weave, to weave the material that they made. And in analogy with Q milk, the sustainability of Due di Latte does not come only on the material itself, but it's matched by the limited amount of water needed in the process. While the manufacturing of a basic cotton t-shirt from the cotton field to the garment requires no less than 11,000 liters of water, and milk fiber t-shirt only necessitates 1/8 of that. And for example, at the 2015 Expo in Milan, Due di Latte collaborated with a fashion designer specialized in bridal dresses that created a sort of a capsule collection with milk fiber. And eventually, however, this company was taken over by a Switzerland company, still called Due di Latte. The production is still in Italy, but let's say the ownership is now in Switzerland, and they do not share much of their information, by the way. Another Italian company that is specialized in milk fiber together with other materials is this Olcese Ferrari, and they produce this milk fiber mixed with viscose and mixed with tencel. Relaxant makes baby wear and healthwear. Punto di Maglia, which by the way still uses the old name Lanital, makes knitwear, different kinds of knitwear for men, women, in a relatively wide range of colors. The only actual company that I found that really uses milk fiber in a consistent way, together with other sustainable fibers like orange fibers and so on, is this one. It's based in Rome, and they've all used it repeatedly in their collections. And that is my point, because even if I found literally hundreds of articles in the Italian and in the foreign press about milk fiber, the renaissance of milk fiber, the sustainability of milk fiber, I really had a very hard time in finding fashion companies that really use this material. The companies that I found, like Due di Latte, is not very clear. I mean, they say the production is local, but I wasn't able to really get straight information for them. So the point is it really a renaissance? I mean, even in the past, it had issues. And one of the main problems, the smell has been solved. But maybe is for the high cost. Actually, I don't think so, because you can check the production of this company and the prices are within the normal range. So what is that keeps milk fiber from exploding, since we're all looking for sustainability? This is still a question for the ages, and I would be very happy to actually hear from you if you have any ideas about why this is happening. Thank you very much.